In this episode, we explore the importance of continued conversation after an intuitive photo reading. Clarity calls can make all of the difference in bringing the message into being in your life. Welcome to the Plumb podcast. This is a podcast for possibility.
We begin from a unique starting point and the conversation unfolds from there. We express authentically and we create the space for you to do the same.
Hi, I'm Rosalee.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Plumb Collective.
That conversation was so important to me, listening to you re-explain my photo reading to me and having this light bulb experience of, oh, that's what it meant the whole time. I see it now. It was a wild experience for me.
Do you want to say more about what the light bulb was?
It was a sensation of puzzle pieces. And I think I was just looking at one. And as you were talking, I realized that there were so many more and that they all fit together. And I don't know that it's all fit together yet, but it's, if you've got a puzzle and you have all the pieces and you kind of know it's a picture of puppies, you know what you're doing now versus just a whole bunch of shapes that you don't know what it makes. In listening to you say what you were saying, I had the experience of, oh, there's more than one piece here and all of these pieces fit together.
Every client I work with is a unique experience, but I think in your case, your photo reading felt like there are these different pieces of the puzzle that I identified, isolated, pointed to, and brought to your attention. There's something over here. There's something over here. You could do this over here. They seem disconnected. I'm feeling this big picture and a very zoomed out really far. I'm actually looking at the last 4 years and the future. My puzzle that I'm looking at in relation to you is, there's puppies, and then there's like a whole scene around the puppies, and it builds out from there. I know that is often too overwhelming or too big or too many pieces when it's your individual life. I'm so close to you, but there is 1 degree of separation between us. For me, seeing that whole picture is just my natural way of seeing things. To identify these different pieces and then have you spend time with them on your own, and then for us to come back into a conversation, which is such a benefit of having a clarity call. You get to ask questions or say things that alerts me to where you are. As I was hearing you talk, I went, oh, okay, there are parts of this that are just not in your frame of reference yet. They're floating kind of outside, to bring them in a little bit more so that you can start to get them in your hands and move them around for yourself. But there was this bridge that needed to happen between the photo reading and for you to really get to work on it. That is a great time to schedule a clarity call.
Since the photo reading, we've actually had multiple clarity calls. Another one was I had a situation happen in my life and I was just telling you what had happened and feeling like, okay, but what happened for me, how I behaved feels like it flies in the face of what you're telling me in the photo reading. And I believe you. I know that what you're saying is true. Then why did I act like this? Why was this my natural reaction? And then your response to me just was so in line with what the photo reading was. This conversation that we're using for this episode is another situation like that. We were simply talking about using the reading in an episode of the Plumb podcast, which I was behind and on board with the whole time. And as I was re-listening to the part that we were going to use, I was like, I don't know if I want to share this. It feels too much. I just felt uncomfortable with it because it felt like it was calling out an area of my life that was too specific, that just felt too personal. That's where this started. I was so focused on the one piece that was in my hand. And I was telling you about why this one piece felt the way that it did. Your response was explaining to me that I was looking at one singular piece. And actually, look, there's all of these pieces and it makes this puzzle. You've described it as if something is blocking your view and then all of a sudden it's gone and you can see. That's exactly what I felt like. A common thread when we have a clarity call conversation, what I bring to you isn't me having written an essay about what the photo reading means to me, or even us setting out to talk about the photo reading. I have something happen in my life where there's just something that's right there in my present experience that's either bothering me, or I don't understand or feel like I can only see from one perspective. And it's that thing that we start talking about. The starting point for a clarity call is just what's right there. What are you experiencing right now? I don't have to figure out what I'm going to say in the clarity call, what I'm bringing to you. It's just what's right there.
Absolutely. I mean, it really is a conversation. I often ask, what would you like to talk about? Because that's really what it is. It's like, what's on the surface? What's right there? What is bothering you? What's, the issue? Is there something you want to celebrate? It's just like, what do you want to tell me? Is there something you want to tell me? That's a really good indication and place to start. And it might seem like it's not connected to your reading, or why am I telling Rosalee this? This doesn't make any sense. You were experiencing hesitation. You believe in the reading, you believe in the podcast, you want the reading to be a part of the podcast. You intellectually understood that this was something that you actually desired, that you want to do. And then there was something in the way of that. And so sometimes I would refer to that as resistance or hesitation, or something where you are talking yourself into or out of this thing that you want to do. To just listen to your concerns, or your like, okay, but if I say that, okay, and then, but I don't want this to happen. And what if this happens? And what does this mean about me, and what does it mean about other people, and how will I feel and how will they feel? And it's like, to let those kinds of thoughts that often stay inside and are a monologue and feel like a loop that we just get stuck in and we ruminate on and spiral, to allow them to come out. Say the words that are right there. In Plumb practice, we write the words or we say the words that are right there. If we're writing or verbal journaling. In a clarity call, it's the same principle. In the diner, it's the same thing. It's across the board. It's the words that are in your inner experience. If you put them on the page, if you record them using some type of recording device, if you say them to me, you're getting the words out. And then there is this potential to be witnessed. And to be witnessed by me is a particular experience. I am listening deeply and I'm hearing things
that the person who's speaking isn't hearing in the way that you're hearing them. When I'm telling you something, it's just flooding out. I'm just saying the words without thinking about them, just telling you how I feel, telling you what happened. My experience is just always that you have this like direct line of sight on an angle that I just cannot see because my face is pressed up in it. In our last episode, I described feeling like I had my face in water, and that Rosalee gently grabbed the back of my hair and gently pulled my face up. And I was like, I can see. That is my experience with clarity calls. And it feels like that, like, whoa, like a big revelation. And yet the words that you say are simple. And once you've said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the obvious perspective I could have been taking. And also I understand why I couldn't, or why I didn't see it that way. I just find it profoundly helpful to have you witness me. Having your witnessing be a complement or a support to my own witnessing of myself is huge. Over these past 4 years, and this is something that we say in the clarity call, is that it's fine. I could have had the photo reading, have that experience. It affects me in the way that it does. You and I have conversations. They do what they do for me. But all along the way, I have been also participating in Plumb practice and the diner and doing my own participation in Plumb. I think it's made a huge difference in the I don't want to say the rate, but I don't know that it's a time-based thing because it's taking 4 years. Like it's 4 years. It's not like it's been really fast, but I'm not just relying on you to guide me, to show me the way. I'm also guiding myself to be learning how to see myself and how to witness myself is just such a huge gift. Your support and guidance also shows me how to do that for myself. It's like that saying, you can give a person a fish and that's great. They'll eat for the day, or you can teach them how to fish and they'll be able to, feed themselves for as long as they want.
A principle of Plumb is that healing doesn't have to be hard and feeling your feelings can be fun. We genuinely mean that. It's something that we experience every single day. Sometimes things are hard or they sting or we resist or we have, oh, that kind of sucks. But through all of those hard or sucky moments, we also laugh. We have a good time. There's a playfulness to the process. I think that that's really important. Part of why I felt so strongly all along the way through the creation of the Plumb Collective, that good sportsmanship and that this was a game to be played, and how can we make it fun is a question that I'm always asking. A question that you are always asking is, how can we make it simple? How can we make it as simple as possible and as fun as possible? I really feel like we have accomplished that and exceeded my expectations or the sensations that I've had for my entire life. And this dream coming true, it's like much better and bigger and more profound than I thought it could be. And I really thought it could be cool. Hearing you talk about it, it's like there's an individual gameplay that you have with yourself. And then there is this team feeling, the support that we have when we're together in the things that we create for the Plumb Collective, but individually for you, when you're having a clarity call or where you're having a photo reading for yourself, you know that you're not alone, that I am with you. I am a part of your team, but I'm not doing it for you. I'm pointing to things, I'm guiding you, I'm modeling behavior, I'm modeling things. Part of that is because when I'm connected to your energy, I am feeling how you speak to yourself, the words that you use with yourself, the way that you are with yourself, so I can make those little adjustments in how I reflect that back to you to show you, oh, it's a subtle shift, looking from a different angle or lifting my head up. That is then something that you can recreate on your own. And when you want or need that support or check in to touch base or to just get your feet underneath you again, to feel like you have a personalized pep talk, there are points of connection with me that we have created that are so simple and effective and efficient. You can be in your life going at your own pace, participating in Plumb practice and entering the diner. And then when you want to connect with me and you want that reassessment and that alignment check, it's like, I'll, kick the tires and like give you a good once over, really listen to you deeply and feel what has shifted and what needs to shift and give you new actions to take. It's really cool for me in this experience, this unfolding of your photo reading. It continues to unfold. It's not over yet. The photo hasn't developed. The puzzle isn't fully together yet. It's unfolding for you. It's also unfolding for me. I'm seeing some things about myself because I remember your initial photo reading 4 years ago. I know what I said. I know what I felt. To have the things that I felt and the words that I said and the actions that I suggested and recommended that you could take be in such perfect alignment with what is in your photo reading now. It's so plumb. It's so exact. it's an incredible experience for me. Okay, along the way, if you weren't inspired, excited, interested, or choosing these actions for yourself, they don't go away. They get refined, and then I'll suggest something else. All doors open to the same thing. All of the different actionable steps, I see how each of them would have led you to the same point. That's my big picture that I'm looking at and going, okay, this feeling that I had, this hypothesis, if you just choose something, you play the game. Are you curious? Are you interested? Are you paying attention? Are you noticing things about yourself? That's what that means. Are you resting when you need to rest? Are you taking space from it when you need to take space from it? In episode 8, I say your resistance is a part of your integration. It's an important part of it. Your hesitations are an important part of it. It's showing you where you are. All of the time, all of the different things that have happened over the last 4 years were important for you and the unfolding of your life. It is such an honor to be able to be with you and witness you and to point to things along the way.
Well, it's an honor to be pointed at.
And have me pull your hair out of the water.
Well, and the thing is, this is a 4-year journey we're talking about, and that you've been pointing to the same thing this whole time, patiently and lovingly. And I'm sure, I know at points, it is frustrating to experience resistance, or for you to feel like, if you could just do this, and then for whatever reason I don't or I can't, that's got to be frustrating. And yet you always meet me with just love and understanding and so much compassion, because I know you understand what's underneath and behind whatever resistance is there for me. And you've just been just so loving, and you have really influenced and affected in the most beautiful way how I speak to myself. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And to be so clear about that, yes, I get frustrated, but I never get frustrated at you or with you. My frustration is like, it's right there. It's right there. And I said it. I said it. There's no, I'm trying. And then in the past, and that's part of that, the juice that I'm squeezing out of this reading for myself is I said it 4 years ago. I know that I said it. And then I refined it along the way, and I kept saying it in different ways or slightly different angles. I couldn't have done it any better. It was there. The opportunity presented itself, but that there's something that I can't give you or anyone else that you have to bring to it. So now, instead of trying to look at me and trying to, can I say it better? Can I say it that they can hear me? And can I do it this way? And if I tried harder, and if I dig in deeper, or if I ask a better question or whatever, if I am not spinning my wheels and wasting my energy on that, and I just am like, oh no, I fucking said it. Like I said it and I believe it and it's right there. And then all of my effort and energy is in listening and loving and reassuring and reminding and saying like, okay, well, did you take an inventory, or like, is there something that you can claim, or can you reread your magic list? I can bring those things up again, but I know deep in my being that I couldn't have said it any better. I couldn't have done anything any differently that would have had it unlock sooner. My job is to feel the feelings, to give language to the sensation, to say the bold thing. If I do that, that's a lot.
It sure is. My individual participation in Plumb practice and the diner is me. I'm thinking of an airport, traversing an airport, just walking along with my bags, just walking. And when I receive witnessing, pointing, photo readings, clarity calls from you, it feels like I've gotten on one of those what are those things called? Conveyor belts, where you step on it and you can keep walking too. And then you're just like flying forward and it feels really cool. I think it's a fun feeling. You get to the end of that, the conveyor belt ends because it will. And then I keep walking. I'm still pulling my bags. I'm still doing Plumb practice. I'm still doing the diner. And there's another conveyor belt when I need it. That's what it feels like to me. And I think that if I wasn't walking along and pulling my bags, the conveyor belts would be useful and helpful and I would enjoy them. But how would I get from one to the next? Or maybe I'd only experience one and it would fade from my experience and I would forget about it. To be participating myself is how I've been actually on a journey, rather than simply having like points of cool connection, aha moments that may or may not sort of fade from my experience.
That is the perfect analogy, metaphor, visual is so perfect because that's exactly what it is. It's like, yeah, you could stop walking when you get on that magic sidewalk. But when there's the combined you walking and my magic, it's a cool sensation in your body. It's a cool sensation for me. And it does move you through things with ease and I guess faster in ways, because it does feel like time travel. We go to the past and we clean something up and then it slingshots you forward into the future with no effort or time or anything, because it just shifts something or you see something and you move on your path in a really easeful way. And I think that is a really big distinction, because I think we think like, oh, it's going to be work. It's going to be hard. It takes the time that it takes, but it really is thinking about that gameplay. Where if you think you're playing a game, you have a different attitude about it than if you think you're going to work. I saw very early on, we need to be lighthearted and light-handed when it comes to our healing. We have to have some playfulness. That, I think, is where that spark is. That is what I feel is necessary. When we're saying participation, that chutzpah, that spark, that want to. If you feel like I'm forcing you or making you, or you have to, or you should, or a good person would, that kills it, that stifles it. So it's like, oh no, I'm not giving you homework. I'm not going to be mad at you if you don't do something, but it'd be really cool if you did. It'd be cool if you dug in here and like played the game, because then you would have data, you would have your own research that then you could share with me, and then boom, we accelerate some more. And you move through stuff with such ease and fun. It's a cool experience.
You have offered me actionable steps that along the way I haven't done. I've agreed with you. I say, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'll do that. And then I haven't, or I've only done it a little, or whatever. That's okay. That's just where you are. You don't need to force yourself. I haven't found that I could fully force myself to like have passion for something that I just didn't. But what got me, I think, into the position to be able to see the actionable steps a bit differently and generate the spark that maybe I didn't have was participating in Plumb practice and the diner. If there is resistance around doing an actionable step, that's something that you can have an inquiry about. You bring that into Plumb practice, bring that into the diner, and explore that. Like, why am I resisting this? And so I have been doing that along the way in ways. I think now I have a more understanding that it's not just do the actionable step, have an awakening, that there's a lot around the actionable step. Are you resisting? Okay, well then you can explore the resistance. And that's okay. It's not that you're not doing it if you first have to explore the resistance. And that's something that I think I've understood over time and through more conversation with you, and has been revealed. And through this, I mean, I've been with you on the Plumb creation journey, for these years, and I've believed in it, and I've believed in you, and I've believed in us. But it feels to me that this experience of really seeing what Plum practice in the diner have done for me and what photo readings and clarity calls have done for me and how they actually all fit together has given me way more embodied understanding of what we're doing with Plum. I've known all along. I mean, I wouldn't be doing something if I didn't understand it. So I did understand it intellectually, but I just see it so much more clearly for myself now, which makes sense because I have been having an experience. I love having these kinds of experiences with you. They're fun and interesting. I enjoy having something moved away from my eyes. It gives me that feeling of pulling my head out of the water because that's what you do for me. So thanks.
You're welcome. That's the thing. There's always more.
The starting point for this conversation is a clarity call that I had with Rosalee after my photo reading. Clarity calls take place on Zoom. It's a one-on-one conversation between the client and Rosalee. And since Rosalee and I are in a friendship and have an outside relationship, we use an app to communicate with each other all the time and send video messages to each other. The clarity call you're about to hear actually happened while I was out running. I like to lovingly call Rosalee one of my favorite running buddies because we have great conversations while I'm running. Running is just a time that I do a lot of great thinking and have a lot of really great conversations. This clarity call sort of naturally happened when I asked Rosalee some questions that related to my photo reading and what was going on with my life. Rosalee gave me a response that felt like the mind blown emojis. And I felt like I suddenly saw myself more clearly and Plum so much more clearly. To hear Rosalee's response and have this embodied experience of knowing, understanding something that I just wasn't seeing before. I heard the message while I was running and I responded while I was running. When you hear the clip, you will hear insects and footsteps and a little bit of breathing, but I share my response to Rosalee's message. My photo reading is a continual unfolding. My first photo reading was 4 years ago. I've had multiple photo readings over the past 4 years. This one is very fresh and is in the process of unfolding. This clarity call conversation that we had is just a wonderful example of how conversation after a photo reading can be so helpful and bring light to things and make the experience even more meaningful. The photo reading that's part of episode 8 of the Plumb podcast is a photo reading that I had very recently, and it's still in the process of unfolding.
Clarity calls are one-on-one calls with me for clarity. My favorite experience with clarity calls happen after I do an intuitive photo reading for my client. I personally like to have the experience of reading your energy before hearing your story. I think that is part of the magic of a photo reading and what makes it different than other modalities like therapy or things where you have to explain yourself, where you have to talk or tell your story. With a photo reading, you don't have to say anything at all. You don't have to reveal anything about yourself or your life or what has happened to you or what you would like to happen. You just send a selfie and a question that you have. I do the rest. I deliver that message to you. And when you work with that message, when you hear it, it is understandable that you will have questions, that you will have things that you want to tell me, connections that I made that make sense to you, that you heard me going like, well, it could be this, it could be this. Often my clients want me to know what it is that I felt and they want to talk about it. And I love to hear it. For me, utilizing clarity calls after a photo reading is my favorite way to do it. But if you would like to talk to me, you can schedule a clarity call without a photo reading. If that eases you to be able to talk to me before having a photo reading, it's available for you as well.
There's more information about clarity calls on our website. We'll include a link in the description box of this episode where you can read information and book a clarity call session. And now join us in listening to this clarity call conversation.
You protect yourself by blacking out or running away or not taking in whatever is happening. If you think that that means that you forget things or that you have trouble remembering, that isn't true. Why I felt that you taking inventory of your life, why does that connect to now? If you saw written out on paper how much you do, how much you manage, it would impact your self-belief about how capable or incapable you couldn't do it on your own or whatever all those gremlin-y grumbles are. If you actually saw what you do on a daily or weekly basis, actually acknowledged yourself, claimed how much you managed, if you saw the inventory of how capable you are, it was the inverse of claiming it. Looking at the tasks, that felt like an easier in back then. But it also isn't that fun to take inventory of what you do. I don't blame you for not doing it, but it was the in that was available to you at that time that I saw, that I felt. So I suggested it. The whole time, I'm thinking, how could I refine this? How could I say it better? Or say it in a way that you can actually hear me? This is important. This would really make a difference. Who do you say you are? How do you feel and what do you want? Claiming it and whatever. That also wasn't that interesting. The magic list for me was interesting. I was excited about it. Felt like it was doing something for me. I was modeling something that did feel interesting. What I think happened is you started your magic list in your own way. You did claim things. Instead of feeling like there's something wrong with you, if you can see you are capable, that would make a difference. There would be ripples in your life because that's a core, fundamental, incongruent with what is actual reality. It's just not true. You're not weak. You're not incapable. You're not a fraud. Well, that's root core shit. You don't have an issue with forgetting. It wasn't even ever about remembering and forgetting, but it feels that way. Through the inventory, you could have seen, and I still think you would see something more specific if you took an inventory. And it could just be an ongoing list. Okay, so today, what have you done? You could just do it as you're going for a day and you would see something. If you did it for a week, I think you would be mind blown by how much you do in a week. If you just wrote down what you did when you did it. Because I, of all people, understand how some of this shit is daunting and doesn't seem that fun or interesting. Well, then make it fun and interesting for yourself. Find a way to make it enjoyable or just not hard. Or not, it's totally fine. But it does feel like there's something there. If I feel something is there and it seems easy-ish, I'm going to point to it and be like, well, there's something there. You could do that. Over the course of my life, people get mad at me for pointing that out, but it's physically uncomfortable for me to feel it and not say something. So I'm going to say something. Then, like, even in Plumb practice where I'm like, I hate to say it, but it's the same message. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to try to say it different ways so you can hear me. But the message didn't change. It's been the same thing. I get nudges where I'm like, I don't want to do that. Then I don't. But then I end up doing it. My lag time between feeling it and actually participating is fairly short. But I still get annoyed with myself that there's a lag time at all. It often comes back around again. It comes around with some modification. I really see how the inventory and claiming is the exact same thing. I don't know if it's that clear or noticeable to you. It seems like they're different, but it's the same thing.
All along the way between then and now, we have been doing Plumb practice together. And all along the way, I have been exploring things, following what is coming up in my mind in Plumb practice. The still point has been huge. Remembering and forgetting comes up all the time. Having you point along the way at various times. I mean, for me, you're pointing frequently because we are in conversation. For other people, that's photo readings or clarity calls. And then the stuff that you do on your own is Plumb practice in the diner. And it is doing those things that makes it possible, gets you into the position to do the silly little things if there's been resistance. That is what feels like is the piece that was missing and that we created. You re-summarizing, because all of the things that you've said, you have said before, but now you said them in one place, and I had these pieces around me all this time. And then the piece of the recent photo reading and all the things that's happened since then, to me, feels like a jigsaw puzzle. All of those pieces are on my table, and there is a sense of what the puzzle put together looks like, and yet it's not all put together yet. You can't do it for me. I have to participate, and I've been participating. Doing the magic list, that was something that I did after the reading, actually. The desire to do that came forward after you had pointed again, after the photo reading. I agree, the magic list, I just added something to it today and skimmed over the ones I've already had. And I'm just like, oh, I love these. I'm so glad I wrote these down. What you're saying about accommodations and making it interesting to yourself and all of that, making accommodations for myself, is something I've learned over time. And it is largely because of being in relationship with you and seeing your modeling and listening to you talk and hearing how things show up for you and watching the ways that you trust yourself and what comes from that. Now, when it came to the magic list, I did do it in a way that was interesting to me. The reason I didn't start it right away is because it felt hard or something, but not hard. Like, I don't like cliche phrases, and I don't like things that feel Hallmark card-ish. I have an aversion to that. And not that I thought that that's what it was going to be or had to be, but I just wasn't sure what else there was. A way that I work well is by setting up an environment to write and allowing what shows up to show up and having an intention of what I would like to invite in. When I thought about maybe I could think of something for the magic list, it doesn't have to be the most profound thing. It doesn't have to be the top thing. It's the first thing I think of. And what am I experiencing right now? It was stream of consciousness writing with the intention of finding something to put on my magic list. That was fun for me and enjoyable that it came out like that. And I liked what came out. So then I was like, well, maybe this is the way I do it. I did that for a few items on the list. And now I added something today and I knew what it was without doing that. I'm running, my water is sloshing, and I'm breathing, and who knows what audio quality this is, but I feel like you and I are having the podcast conversation right now. You're over there saying how it feels to you, and I'm over here jostling my body around like I do, running around, being on these trails, walking, running, body jostling. I do great thinking and great chatting, great talking while I'm running. I'm in my natural element right now. This is my natural state. This is where I get communications from. We've had so many profound conversations while I'm running. This is why I say you are one of my favorite running buddies. Okay, I have now done yelling at you in the woods.
Thank you for joining us on Sarah's run and this incredible, important clarity call.
I was out on a run physically. I was actually going somewhere, following a path. And energetically, it felt like I had moved forward on my healing journey path as well. I could feel the confidence and clarity as I was speaking. And so to hear this recording back makes a huge difference for me. I can hear that something has shifted for me in the time since we had this call. Even more has shifted as we've continued conversation about what's happening for me. If you're interested in having a photo reading for yourself or a clarity call, you can check out our website. There's a link in the description box below, and you can have a clarity call with Rosalee even without having a photo reading. But I highly recommend having a photo reading. It's a really amazing experience, and the clarity call just takes you even deeper into the heart of the matter.
Join us next week for a new episode of the Plumb podcast,
as I continue to gain more clarity around my photo reading experience.